revenue side, I think it makes sense. Now, let me drill down on the revenue side, because we probably have some disagreements on that sort of stuff. I'm trying to give some tools to local communities to broaden their tax base against the reliance on property taxes. But in drilling down to what I've tried to do on the real estate, on the tax side, is to understand that as opposed to what other administrations have done fairly routinely over the last number of years, I'm trying to broaden the tax base, not narrow it. And I believe that that's important for several reasons, not the least of which is we need more people to have skin in the game when it comes to making policy. Because I think the lack of that accountability has led to bad decision-making over a long period of time. But secondly, if we continue to only hit a segment of our society when it comes to raising taxes, and that portion of our society is extremely mobile, then what we're really saying is we want you to live in Massachusetts or New York or New Jersey or Rhode Island instead of living in Connecticut. And so I've tried to hold the line, and holding the line on the income tax side, which is a tool for raising money, but doing it in a broader basis as well with other taxes is really a signal to folks that we want to maintain a competitive advantage when it comes to our income tax rates against those states that we are most directly competing against. And three of those states that we actually share borders with, and one of those states, New Jersey, that actually has done, I think, over the last 10 years, a better job of attracting the financial services industry to it than we have in the state of Connecticut, although we've had some success. So the concept of shared sacrifice means that we cut expenditures, we go to our employees looking for a substantial negotiated settlement that will save us $1 billion a year, and that we look at a broad base of taxes as opposed to a narrow set of taxes to raise the revenue necessary to conduct our business. And ultimately that we don't play the same game that other states are currently playing, which is simply shift expenses to local communities and call it savings, because that would be a disastrous result for us. So that's the idea behind this budget. Now, I've gone to 15 of 17 town hall meetings. You might have read some of the coverage around the state, and I probably was in some of the communities that you all represent or work in. They're fascinating. About a third of the folks come to lobby on a particular issue, which is this sustenance insurance program. About a third of the people are there to lobby on behalf of labor employees of the state of Connecticut, and about a third, represent everybody else. And that's, the whole thing is an interesting process, because what I have learned is everyone wants me to balance the budget, and they want me to do it without raising any taxes and without cutting any services. A relatively easy thing to do, I suppose. But there have been some really good ideas that have come, and once we know whether we're going to have success with our employees, maybe we can institute some of those changes. In the absence of an agreement with our employees, I will be obligated to go to a different plan for balancing the budget, which will be based on additional cuts to the budget to make up that difference, and ultimately $1 billion or more of additional cuts. That's where we are in these budget deliberations. So I know you're all going over to speak to people at the legislature. I thought you deserved at least an understanding of where I thought the budget process was in all of this. Now let me turn away from the budget for a second. Things aren't going to get better. I've done this job before. I was mayor of Stamford for 14 years. Mayor at a time that our population increased by at least 10% during a period of time in which we lowered the ratio of employees to the population and actually lowered the gross number of employees by 8.4%. Delivering better services, making the community safer, and making important investments in education. Good government is possible. It's hard work. It's being transparent. It's telling people the direction that you want to take them in, and then leading every single day. and reminding people why sacrifice is necessary. We can turn this state around. This is not a losing proposition by any stretch of the imagination. We have the most efficient workforce in the nation. Although we have the highest electric rates, we are the most efficient users, or actually the top 3 in efficiency in using electricity. We have great strengths. We have great institutions educationally in this state, and we have a great public educational system. We have real opportunities for turning things around. Some of our companies are starting to do extremely well. If you follow United Technologies, for instance, they're having an unbelievable run in the last 60 days of their Pratt & Whitney division. We can reasonably anticipate that they will double sales in the next few years and probably call on upon a larger workforce as opposed to a smaller workforce. We know that some of the insurance companies and financial services companies are already in the process of hiring additional people and bringing people to our state. We know that there are these opportunities out there that we have to maximize and that we have to invest in, and that government has to prove itself to our large employers and our small, that we have a vision of the future that we can execute and that we can be better for. We've got to compete with New York and New Jersey and Massachusetts and Rhode Island, and then we've got to compete with the other 45 states, and then we have to understand where we are in competition with the rest of the world. But we are now doing that. We are benchmarking every step of the way. We're understanding what our competition is doing. We're measuring our investments as well as our tax structure, as well as our educational structure. We are going to get this done in the next few years. That's my promise. I didn't run for this office because it was going to be easy. I didn't run for this office to do nothing, and I certainly didn't run for this office to tell people the same old thing. What we're going to accomplish is going to require change and sacrifice. And I'm going to communicate that every day I have an opportunity to. That's why I'm doing those 17 town hall meetings. That's why I'll find other ways to move around the community. That's why I was more than happy to come to this organization and talk to you and explain what it is we're trying to do. Because if we're successful, as I truly believe we will be, then you'll be more successful. More people will choose to remain in our state and move around in our state, and more people will come to our state for their employment and education, and yes, for tourism opportunities. That's the vision. That's what I'm going to work on tirelessly, and that's why I consider you all partners as you help us sell this state and make it a stronger and better place, community by community. So if I haven't said it before to this group of realtors, as opposed to my brother and sister, I'm saying thank you. Thank you for what you do. You do good and honorable and hard work, and I'm going to try to make it easier for you in the long run. Thank you very much. It's great to be with you.